stand, please, and receive Craig and the remains. Thank you. You may be seated. Good afternoon and welcome to the Calvary Baptist Church as we share this time with Constance, Myers, Craig, Myers, and other members of the family. We appreciate the opportunity to meet and greet each of you and want to extend to you a hearty welcome and a greeting. I believe most of you have been able to find the facilities that you might need, and if not, there's a person at the back door that would be glad to show you wherever you need to go within the building. Psalms 23 says, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. For thou art with me, thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest the table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil. My cup runs over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever." Let us bow our heads in prayer. Gracious God, our Father, you have summoned home one of your children. We thank you that you allowed her to meet, to bump into, and share with so many of these that are gathered here today. And we thank you, O God, especially for family and loved ones, for Craig and all of the others that are gathered here. We ask your blessings now as we remember. We pray in the name of Jesus that you will comfort and strengthen each one of them, that you'll give them what they need for this hour. And Lord, you'll help us as we spend this time together in memorial. And we will always praise you. It is in Jesus' name. Amen. My name is France Davis. I'm pastor here at the Calvary Church. On the organ is Brian Heslip, who's playing the prelude and postlude music. I believe some of you have copies of the order of service, and for those of you who do not, let me share with you what is going to happen for the next few minutes. First of all, there will be a song, "Mercy Me, I Can Only Imagine." And then following that, Stacy Douglas will come with the obituary. Then River August will come, Deb Logsdon, Sophia Reese, Allison Greston, and Judith Zwiecki. They'll come, and then we'll be ready for the second song after Judith. So let's begin now with a song, "I Can Only Imagine."
I can only imagine what it will be like when I walk by your side. I can only imagine what my eyes will see when your face is before me. I can only imagine. Yeah. Surrounded by your glory, what will my heart feel? Will I dance for you, Jesus? Or in awe of you be still? Will I stand in your presence? Or to my knees will I fall? Will I sing hallelujah? Will I be able to speak at all? I can only imagine. I can only imagine. I can only imagine when that day comes and I find myself standing in the sun. I can only imagine when all I would do is forever worship you. I can only imagine, yeah. I can only imagine. Surrounded by your glory, what will my heart feel? Will I dance for you, Jesus? Or in awe of you be still? Will I stand in your presence? Or to my knees will I fall? Will I sing hallelujah? Will I be able to speak at all? I can only imagine. Yeah, I can only imagine. Surrounded by your glory, what will my heart feel? Will I dance for you, Jesus? Or in all of you be still? Or will I stand in your presence? Or to my knees will I fall? Will I sing hallelujah? Will I be able to speak at all? I can only imagine. Yeah, I can only imagine. I can only imagine. Yeah, I can only imagine. I can only imagine. I can only imagine. I can only imagine when all I would do is forever worship you. I can only imagine.
Thank you. Stacy, will you come now and share the obituary, followed by River, Deb, Sophia, Allison, and Judy?
At 12:34 on December 30th, 2018, Constance Richan Meyer left this world just as she lived in it, with courage, grace, and dignity. She was surrounded by her family and loved ones. Constance was born July 23rd, 1967 in Woodstock, Virginia, to Wilford George Richan and Helen Henrietta Sweeney Richan. They were waiting to embrace her once again on the other side. Constance married Craig Meyer on March 8th, 2003, after 5 wonderful years of courtship. Together, they enjoyed riding Harleys, trips to Hawaii, scuba diving, and spending time with their 2 beautiful daughters, 4 dogs, and a cat. Constance was an accomplished cook. Her cupcakes decadent and artistically designed specifically for any occasion you needed them for. She saved the day many times with those delicious bites. She was an amazing communicator who collected people and animals everywhere she went. This made her an incredible marketer. for some very fortunate companies. She worked in the waste management industry and then became a force in the real estate industry, representing home warranty and home inspection companies. She quickly became the favorite CE class sponsor. She was a true champion for the Salt Lake and state chapters of Utah Women's Council of Realtors, serving as secretary and vice president of membership for the Salt Lake chapter and secretary for the state chapter, respectively. She lovingly served as the chair for Women's Council annual fundraiser, Bras for a Cause, for 8+ consecutive years, ironically contracting a very rare form of breast cancer herself. Her quick wit, humor, and infectious laugh will be sorely missed, but never forgotten. Cancer may have taken her body, but her heart and soul will remain on. And her husband, daughters, and commandos will see to that. Constance is survived by her husband and soulmate, Craig Meyer, her stepdaughters, Shalise, Marie Meyer, and Sierra Nicole Meyer, her sister, Linda Ann Richan, and extended family, her pup, Scooter, Sidecar, Faith Grace, and Whiskey Jane, and her cat, Chopper. Special thanks to Dr. Gregory J. Linton for giving us 3 more years and for the wonderful care of her nurses who provided it, Utah Cancer Specialist. There are angels among us. With love, Constance Commandos. We will love you the most.
My name's Deb Logston, and Constance is my friend. I want to share with you my intersection. I'm talking about the very first time Constance and I met, when our 2 paths crossed. My intersection was in Salt Lake City at a Women's Council meeting. Being new to the industry, I walked into the building not knowing anyone there at the time. I looked across the room and saw this beauty with big blonde hair and a groovy dress style she wore with confidence. This bombshell was buzzing around, setting up fruit and cheese trays, busy as a bee, I remember. She must have noticed I was still standing there because she walked right up to me and introduced herself. I will never forget how she looked as she walked towards me. Out of her mouth came the words, "Hi, sweetie, I'm Constance. What's your name?" My first impression of her was, wow, what a nice gal. She made such an incredible first impression. I will never forget how she made me feel. That is the moment when God placed her in my life. I knew at that exact moment we were going to be lifelong friends. We have since made so many wonderful memories that I will treasure forever. I am certain that we all had such an incredible experience the first time meeting Constance. So please take a moment to reflect on your intersection, where you and Constance first met, when your 2 paths crossed for the very first time. That is the moment when God placed her in your life. Aren't we the lucky ones who are so blessed to have met this incredibly strong, brave, beautiful, funny, smart, confident, and sassy gal? Constance was one very special person. She could light up a room like nobody else. She was known by so many, always leaving a special impression. Constance sponsored so many events with her trademark cupcakes. She will always be the cupcake queen in my book. She had a laugh like no other. Her laugh was so distinct. Laughter is what poured out when we hung out. I can hear it right now ever so clear. I know that she loved her husband Craig to the end of the universe and back, and he loved her just as much. The love they shared will last for all eternity. She loved her stepdaughters, Shalisa and Sierra, her parents, Helen and Bill, her sister Linda, and all her family. She loved her pets, Chopper, Scooter, Sidecar, Faith Grace, and Whiskey Jane, and she loved her friends. She even loved her friends' pets. She loved her country, and she loved riding on the open road with her husband. A day came upon her life and ours when she learned the worst news possible. You see, I know she never in a million years thought that she would become the most amazing warrior, fighting the enemy within her body. She fought so bravely, with such style and grace. We rallied around her and offered all the support we could possibly provide. She was so important to us. She fought hard as long as she could, up until her very last breath. She will always be our girl. We will miss her like crazy. We know in our hearts a simple truth. That truth is believing that there will be eternal and everlasting life. And because of our faith, we will find comfort knowing that we will see our friend again one day. Until then, fly, sweet angel, fly across the most brilliant orange painted sky.
Hello, I'm Sophie Reese, and I just wanted to share some insights, some memories, and things that I learned from our good friend Constance Richan. And I'm looking out upon all of you today. I just see bursting love, and it is fabulous. And I know she's so happy, and thanks you so much for coming. But like a lot of other real estate agents, I met Constance on tour. I was a pretty new agent and had a house. I met at the board, and here bounces in this amazing, beautiful, big blonde-haired lady with, of course, a fun outfit and big heels. She was so welcoming. She came to me, asked me who I was, introduced herself, stuck me in her car in the front seat on tour that day, and made sure that I got introduced to everybody. She told me that I needed to get to Women's Council of Realtors. It was huge in her heart, and she'd been doing it a long time, and she knew that that's where every successful agent should be. So I came to Women's Council with her, and of course, again, she introduced me to fabulous people there that have become longtime friends. Years later, when my husband and I went on a trip, the kids wanted Constance to watch them, and she really wanted to babysit them. And I thought, oh, that's gonna be probably a lot of fun. Will it be too much fun? So we went on our trip, and when we returned, Isabel and Colby, our kids, couldn't wait to tell us what Constance had taught them at a restaurant. I'm gonna do my best not to wreck this. Our son's in Spanish. He coached me today, but what they learned was un cerveza por favor muy fuerte. And it translates basically into bring me an extra strong beer, please. And of course, the kids are way underage to be drinking, but Constance was just gloating with happiness that she taught them that. Another thing that Constance taught me was the love for parents and incredible respect. Her parents, Helen and Bill. I didn't get to meet Bill, but I did visit Helen. She was shorter than I was, which I loved, because I didn't have to go to kindergarten to feel tall. But the kids and I really loved Helen, and it was fun to visit her. Constance called her mom every day. She was over there multiple times a day, and I know that she would want us to just honor our parents and just give that love and respect. Another thing to mention is Bras for a Cause. Oh, that was dear to her heart. Every year she was so excited. She'd start shopping in October after the costumes went on sale, and we were like two giddy girls in a store laughing about how awesome wigs and costumes were gonna look on her boys. That's what she called all of you fabulous models. And she loved you guys so much and couldn't wait to show you off on stage. I was lucky enough to go to convention with Constance in San Francisco. And the classes were great. We did go to those during the day, and at night we just had so much fun. And one particular night that stands out is the night that we went to the pier and ate at a fabulous restaurant. We actually got there and the line to get in was about an hour and a half. And of course, with Constance's big, bouncy, fabulous energy bouncing all over, we quickly met some new friends from the Arizona chapter. And they had a group of 20. They said, come with us. And we got seated pretty quick with them. We had the time of our lives, of course, meeting our new friends, but the best part was the ride on the trolley car back to the hotel. Constance, of course, made everything so much fun. And we were going down the trolley, laughing all the way, and Constance saw in the distance there was a man loading boxes into his van. So she couldn't help herself but to yell out, "Hey, the trolley's lost its brakes. Get out of the way." So everyone on the trolley, including the driver, definitely we had the time of our lives that night. When Constance knew something wasn't right, before she knew it was cancer, she'd been to the doctor, and the doctor just said, "Constance, I want you to go to Sturgis. I want you to go and have the time of your life. And when you get back, we'll deal with whatever it is." And when a doctor tells you that, you go and you have the best time of your life. In prior years, Constance had invited me to go with her to go set up camp. I've never been to the actual Sturgis event, but I knew that I needed to go on this trip with her. So just her and I and the camping gear loaded up, we headed up and over to Sturgis. And we laughed all the way, and there was a lot of fun. And there's kind of a joke between us, kind of how long would it take our husbands or any normal person to drive to Sturgis, set up camp, and get back? Well, it's probably a day or two for most, but for Constance and I, it ended up being, I think, about 5 days. So I kept calling Tony every day, "Hey babe, you mind if I take another day? We're just having so much fun, and it's just taking us so much longer than we thought to set this camp up." But when we started off, we stopped at more gas stations than I'd ever been to. I think by the time we hit Park City, we'd already been to 3. So I thought that was great, but she had her favorite spots where she'd get prizes. And if you know Constance, she loved prizes. She loved to give them, she loved to get them. And I found out recently it was because her cute dad, Bill, brought Constance prizes all the time, and it just made her so happy. It didn't have to be a big gift, just something small, just something memorable, something that made her happy or that she thought would make you happy. I also, on that trip, we got to go to the Wild Mustang Ranch, and I was so excited because I had a friend that got excited about horses as I did. And seeing all those horses corralled, we did find our favorite, and I named him Fabio because he had long blonde hair that swept across one eye. And as I pulled it back from his eye, he quickly butted it back down. He just liked that one eye look. I think ultimately we really just wanted to set all those horses free back into the wild to run. So that was really cool to see that. And another last little bit on Sturgis, we were driving through the night, and all of a sudden we were somewhere, I'm not quite sure where, I don't think she knew either. I think we may have made a new route to Sturgis, not quite on the Meyer plan, but it got to be where we were suddenly in road construction on a dirt road, and a lot of lightning was going on in the distance. And of course, the two blondes that we were, we thought this was wonderful, and the traffic wasn't too busy, so we were out on the side of the road trying to video this fabulous electric storm. And as we got back in the car and going, suddenly, for some reason, there were like hundreds of little rabbits everywhere, and they were unavoidable to run over. So it kind of it was sad, like the first couple were like, "Oh no, we ran over a rabbit." And after that, it was kind of a joke. And she'd be like, "Thump, thump, thump, thump," and there would be another rabbit. So it was so much fun, and I couldn't be more grateful that I got to go on that trip with my friend. Soon after that, we got to go to Maui. She couldn't wait to take some of us and go to another favorite place of hers on earth that she usually would share with her beautiful husband, Craig. In Maui, We snorkeled. We mostly relaxed because at this point she wasn't feeling so well. And just staying in the magical warm waters of Hawaii that felt so healing. So many turtles would come up to us in the water, and she loved sea turtles so much, and we thought for sure it was a sign of good health and healing. I know that I was so lucky. About a year ago in December, I got to help Craig and Constance find a house. And we found the house of her dreams on the day after she had a double mastectomy. I'm pretty sure that's the surgery, I could be wrong. Anyhow, she had surgery that day, and I was in charge of getting Constance back home. And so off we went, and as soon as we were in the car, of course, Constance said, "Sophie, a house came up, we've got to go see it." I'm like, "Constance, I cannot take you to that house today. Those commandos will probably hurt me, and I can't imagine what Craig's gonna do to me if I don't just get you home." But she somehow had like this magical way of manipulation, and she got me to take her to that house, and I said, "Okay, we'll go, but we're just gonna drive by, right?" No. Somehow when we got there, she got me in there, and she fell in love, and they bought the house. And we went to go deliver the keys to Craig that day at his work, and we couldn't just go deliver them in our regular outfits. With our love of unicorns, Constance said, "We've got to go find unicorn outfits and deliver these to Craig, her pony." So we did. Two grown ladies in blue unicorn onesie outfits with a little hood were at Craig's work delivering those keys that day, and I think he kind of got a kick out of it. Hopefully not too many people were looking out the window that day. Recently at the Salt Lake Board of Realtors, we had our holiday social, which is like the biggest event, and everybody's there. And Constance really, really missed all of you so much and wanted to be with so many people. And I know so many people had reached out and were missing her and wanted to be with her. And I know how sick she was that day, and somehow, because of all of our love for her and her love for us, she showed up at that social super early that day to greet and give as many people a hug as she possibly could. And that really just filled her love reserves up that day, and it was so beautiful. I know that one of the biggest fears with passing away were leaving Craig and being forgotten. And Craig, I know that you have a huge amount of new girlfriends now, and I don't think you're going to be able to get rid of us, and we love you so much. And we're excited to take you out to Mexican, and we're excited to cook tamales and whatever else you'll let us in the house with our spouses, so thank you for letting us be your new friends. Shalise, Sierra, and Craig, I want you to know that we're all here for you, like anytime, day or night. So please never hesitate, because we want to help you all that we can get through this really hard time. And I know Constance didn't want to leave us up to the end. She totally hung on. She didn't want to miss any fun. In fact, I remember she just didn't want to miss any fun. She's so unforgettable. You're everywhere, as I've really noticed these last 2 weeks with you gone. There's orange. Unicorns are such in style. They're everywhere right now. Angel wings. As I sat at the U of U basketball game a few nights and the national anthem started, they had the big flag waving on the Jumbotron, and it was impossible to hold back the tears because all I could see is the beautiful flag Made in America tattoo on your neck that you wore so proudly. So there are signs of you everywhere. Your energy will always be with us. And yes, I even saw the most random thing a few days showing houses. There was a girl with a laundry basket in the snow coming out of the bushes with a black bunny rabbit. Constance is one of the bravest and most courageous people I know. Through all the cancer, chemo, and radiation, You all showed her amazing love as she showed us amazing love. She told me multiple times that she would never change any of this. She never realized how much she was loved until she got so sick. Your text, Facebook messages, calls, just showing up, thinking about her, she saw and heard it all. In the last while, you may not have gotten a call or text back, but I know she saw them, and it really made her day. I believe she hung in so long, past any doctor predictions, because all of us loving her. And I know her messages were clear. She wants us to love each other, hug each other more, be kinder and laugh more, and live each day to the fullest, never taking it for granted. The beauty and love that beamed out of the bedroom of Constance and Craig those last few days were so beautiful. Craig stayed by her side the whole time, and he reminisced like the most beautiful stories of their beautiful and wonderful life together. And I was so blessed to be able to be there and see the joy that brought you, Craig. Connie, you are the coolest biker chick friend I've ever had, and I'm already missing you so much. Thank you so much for coming, everybody. The family appreciates your support.
Hi, I'm Allison Greetham. I'm looking out there today going, she'd be pretty excited about all of you being here. I want to ask you all to join hands. And I want you to look at each other. Look at the person next to you, both sides. Look at the person in front of you. Look at the person behind you. You all have Constance in common. Whether you know each other together or not, she had a pretty big world. She brought us all together. I want you to remember that these commandos up here were all brought together by her. And we're all here for Craig and their daughters, but we're also here for you. Most of you know one of us, two of us, all together. That was the reach that she had. That was the beauty that she shared, the love she shared. So I hope you feel her energy together, because you all have your memories of her, your own meetings, your own time spent with her, and you get to share that today. I'm known as Mama Bear in the Commandos. Constance and I didn't have the pleasure of knowing her that well before cancer. And I can't help but think it was my angel, Amy, that brought us together. And these beautiful women, with their associations prior to the cancer with Constance, when she was, it just so happened I called and asked her if I could take her to lunch on her birthday. She was going in to have a mammogram on her birthday instead. And I think I probably got one of the first calls after that appointment. And we all just said, okay, we're in. And realized that we were stronger together in support than we ever would be on our own. And that's how Constance's Commandos came to be. And even though a few of us knew each other before, and some of us didn't know each other, I'll always, always be grateful for the beautiful people that she brought to my life, that I will have for the rest of my life. So I hope, and there's some of you out here too, not just these Commandos, but I hope when the things that I loved about her, and we had a lot in common in those things, because there were things that I learned through cancer, unfortunately. Don't take the day for granted. Look people in the eye when you're in the store, smile at them, you can change their day. We've lost connection in our world. Constance was a magnet for connection. So in going forward in this life, that's what I will try to honor for her and for this amazing group of women that I love so much. I'm so grateful for all of you. Last month, I was asked to pray, of all things, which I actually pray a lot, but I'm on the board of directors at the Utah Central Association, which is a great organization, and I love them, but we were having some issues with people were concerned about us praying at our meetings and at our luncheons. And my thoughts were, well, we can all use all the help we can get anytime. I don't have a problem with praying. I think what the big concern was that we are not all of the same religion, and we were only praying one way. So of course, that was kind of volunteering, I guess. I got asked to give the prayer at the next luncheon. And Constance and Judith and I were at her last chemo, and I was struggling with what I wanted to present at that luncheon. And of course, I didn't pray in the typical Utah religion way. And it went over great. But she had sent me something. She said, "You really want to knock their socks off? Here you go." But this, and it was a little much for what I was doing at the time, but this stayed with me, and it kept coming up. And when she passed, it was right there on my phone. So I'd like to share it with you. It speaks a lot to who I think she was, who she was to me. So it's called The Invitation. And I need to borrow your glasses, Judith, because I brought my glass case without my glasses in it. It doesn't interest me what you do for a living. I want to know what you ache for, and if you dare to dream of meeting your heart's longing. It doesn't interest me how old you are. I want to know if you will risk looking like a fool for love, for your dream, for the adventure of being alive. It doesn't interest me what planets are squaring your moon. I want to know if you have touched the center of your own sorrow, if you have been opened by life's betrayals, or have become shriveled and closed from fear of further pain. I want to know if you can sit with pain, mine or your own, without moving to hide it, or fade it, or fix it. I want to know if you can be with joy, mine or your own, if you can dance with wildness and let the ecstasy fill you to the tips of your fingers and toes without cautioning us to be careful, be realistic, remember the limitations of being human. It doesn't interest me if the story you are telling me is true. I want to know if you can disappoint another to be true to yourself, if you can bear the accusation of betrayal and not betray your own soul, if you can be faithless and therefore trustworthy. I want to know if you can see beauty even when it is not pretty every day, and if you can source your own life from its presence. I want to know if you can live with failure, yours and mine, and still stand at the edge of the lake and shout to the silver of the full moon, yes. It doesn't interest me to know where you live or how much money you have. I want to know if you can get up after the night of grief and despair, weary and bruised to the bone, and do what needs to be done to feed the children. It doesn't interest me who you know or how you came to be here. I want to know if you will stand in the center of the fire with me and not shrink back. It doesn't interest me where or what or with whom you have studied. I want to know what sustains you from the inside when all else falls away. I want to know if you can be alone with yourself and if you truly like the company you keep in the empty moments. She was a true friend. She had pretty good expectations from her friends because that's the kind of friend that she was. And I'm honored and proud to have been her friend. I will love her and I will miss her forever. And I was grateful to be on that trip in Hawaii with Sophie and her and Judith. And Please take the time to tell the people that you love them. Don't let silly things get in the way. Embrace each day. Tomorrow's not promised. I'm here for you three anytime. Thank you for being here.
I'm Judith Zwierzicki. Constance and I met at a Women's Council of Realtors event that I was co-hosting as vice president of that chapter that year. And it was her first year changing into the real estate world. And Vicki Fulkerson and I met Constance the minute she came in, and she was Constance, you know. How could you miss her? How could you not love her? How could you not want to be her friend? And we were just so full of how much she was going to love Women's Council and all the things that it was going to do for her and change her, make her business easier. Well, those of you that have experienced Women's Council and Constance know, Constance changed Women's Council. She stepped in full tilt boogie and contributed with love and joy and just an immense personality, which is who she is. So she kind of turned the tables on us, but we loved that for her. And the cupcakes and the CE classes, she just was full tilt boogie. Couple things. I want to really deeply thank all of you and the commandos and the friends that have been there for her through this 3.5-year journey. I'm still struggling with that it came to an end, because I thought we were going to have her forever. And I know for me, I've had a huge support system surrounding me so that I could support her. And so thank you, all of you. You've really contributed to her quality of life to the very end. One thing that hasn't been mentioned today that always struck me about Constance, and I'll carry it with me forever, was how loyal she was. She embraced you and loved you. She had your back no matter what. And she taught me so much about family and love and just being there. We had a few adventures of our own, but I can't even top some of the funny things. But one of our trips last year was to a breast cancer conference in Philadelphia, and I'm proud to say that we went to almost all the meetings and really got the most that we could have gotten out of it. And I say that again for my Women's Council friends who know that sometimes we did skip out and play a little bit, but we really had a wonderful trip. And that was the beginning of us talking about and how she wanted it to be and what she wanted to say. And the very simplest thing she had to say was the most beautiful. And she said, for me to tell you all, she just wanted to make you laugh. And I think she accomplished that.
First, I want to start by saying how humbling it is to have been asked to share a few words to honor Connie. I'm not sure how I made the Connie cut, but I do know I didn't have to go through an extensive vetting process, which slightly terrifies me. But that woman took me in and loved me from the jump. I had the pleasure of being able to ride with Connie and Craig on one of Connie's last rides. We took a trip down to Tim Hardley, and then we made our way to a little rundown joint with less than stellar service. There we sat as I listened and learned in great detail more about the Connie and Craig love story, life in general, and stories from their childhoods, as the sun shone through the windows. I rode home that day with a looming sense that that would probably be one of our last rides together. Sophie, one of Connie's friends in Commandos, shared with me last night that Connie spoke of me often and how proud she was of me. And honestly, that's all I could ever hope, is to make the people in my life proud. I keep my circle small, and I'm estranged from my own biological family. So with Connie's passing, it feels as if my support system has gotten smaller. But you know what? Because of her influence, I actually inherited all of the relationships she built, nurtured, and loved. From surprise parties for Sophie to bras for a cause, and all the moto miles in between, Connie's love and zest for life gifted me with an instant family. So how do you honor someone that means so much to so many people? I'm not sure anything will ever truly suffice. What I do know is that Connie was fiercely patriotic. So much so, she had that American flag tattooed on her. Her father fought in World War II, Korea, Vietnam, and retired from the Pentagon. The love of her life, Craig, has served professionally in many protecting and enforcement capacities. He's an unwavering vigilante. Craig devoted his life to protecting Connie. And Craig, you've done a job well done. You fulfilled your promise and served with tremendous honor. So on July 23rd of this year, I'm having a flag flown over the nation's capital in her honor. It seemed fitting, as patriotism was a core of Connie's existence. It seemed fitting to honor Connie in true Connie fashion, boldly fighting, watching over the nation, and with all eyes on her. I want to leave you all with this poem that I wrote. I met Connie through my bestie. She strolled up in some cowboy boots and a plaid sundry that came just above her knee. She was never short of words and banter. She took me in and made me feel like I mattered. Her camping meals were the bee's knees. Yes, even better than Shalice's infamous mac and cheese. Always hitting jackpot on those slot machines. Winning was really kind of her thing. An extensive collection of boots. That girl had some deep country roots. Feeding all the feral cats. That was just one of Connie's many hacks. Orange was certainly the new pink. And Connie, always your self-appointed shrink. She referred to me as her adopted child. And not much can beat the feeling of no longer feeling exiled. She laughed often and loved deeply, especially Craig, also known as Pookie. This earth will never be the same. Her bright and fierce spirit will forever reign. Connie gave us all her very last breath. And now every moto mile ridden will be spent honoring her beyond her untimely death. We love you the most, Connie.
Thank you for sharing all of those times and experiences with Connie. And I'm certain there are many, many more that you could have shared, but thank you for those. Let's hear another piece of music, Casting Crowns, Oh My Soul.
here and now. You can be honest, I won't try to promise that someday it all works out. 'Cause this is the valley, and even now he is breathing on your dry bones. And there will be dances, there will be beauty where beauty was ash and stone. This much I know. Oh, my soul, you are not alone. There's a place where fear has to face the God you know. One more day, he will make a way. Let him show you how you can lay this down. I'm not strong enough, I can't take it anymore. I'm not shipwrecked faith will never get me to shore. Can he find me here? Can he keep me from going under? Oh, my soul, you are not alone. There's a place where fear has to face the God you know. One more day, he will make a way. Let him show you how you can lay this down. 'Cause you're not alone. Oh, my soul, you're not alone.
Thank you, oh my soul. Kimberly Jackson, will you come now and share with us, followed by David Frost, followed by Shalise Meyer and Sierra Myers.
I'm Kim Jackson, Connie's friend. I'm the one in the pictures from years ago. We used to call them our skinny days. I am truly honored and so blessed to have known Connie for the past 25 years. She was one of my very best and dearest friends I have ever had. This is one of the hardest things I have ever had to do, but I am honored to stand here and pay my tribute to her. Connie and I met 25 years ago while working together. We became fast friends and have always had a special and close friendship throughout all of these years. I was a single mom with three kids, and she immediately fell in love with my kids as well. She met my son when he was 5 years old, and she always called him Little Wiener. And he would get so tickled and laugh, and we laughed about that years later. Connie and I shared so many years of great times, sad times, fun trips together. And she and I used to love to go dancing on the weekends. She and I learned every line dance there was and spent many a nights having a great time at the Westerner. I am so glad we have so many great memories together. I remember when Connie met Craig and she fell madly in love with him, and I got to share all the years of her dating Craig and then marrying him on my birthday, March 8th. She loved Craig with all her heart and soul and always would tell me how grateful she was for him and how great he treated her throughout all the years and even through everything she went through after she got cancer. So Craig, I want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart for giving her that special kind of unconditional love she so deserved. She knew you two were soulmates, and she was so happy that you were in her life and such a wonderful, loving husband. Connie touched everyone she knew in a special way. She would light up a room, as you've said before, the minute she walked in, and she always made people laugh. I always admired her ability to remember jokes, and she would rattle them off one after another and have everyone on the floor rolling with laughter. She and I used to tell people we were sisters, and we would crack up laughing as they believed us because we looked nothing alike. But that was Connie. She always wanted to make people laugh. She was smart, witty, funny, caring, loving, fun, vibrant, and she had the biggest heart of anyone I know. But Connie was also very strong and determined to do well in life and hold her own when she needed to. And she was the kind of friend to always have your back no matter what. She proved what a strong person she was right up until the end, as she never gave up hope and still had a great outlook on life and tried to remain positive. Connie made this world a better place as she touched so many lives. She was such a great example of someone who always put others first and gave you 100% of herself in anything she did. She had a lot of friends and people that cared about her, and that says so much about the kind of person she was. I want to close by saying Connie believed in God, and although she didn't know why God chose to take her home, she told me a few weeks ago that she was at peace with God and knew everything was going to be all right. Her biggest sadness and fear was having to leave Craig and her animals that she loved so much, and she knew it was going to be very hard for him, but she also knew God would give him the strength to go on. Craig, we love you, and we hope you will find the strength you need to go on with life. And we know you will always hold Connie close to your heart and soul for the rest of your life. Thank you again for loving her so much and being there for her every step of the way until her last breath. I would also like to say a heartfelt thank you to all of the Constance commandos who showed her so much love and support and helped her so much during this difficult journey in her life.
Good afternoon. My name's David Frost. I'm humbled and honored to be asked to speak today. I got to know Craig and Connie, I believe it was back in 2010 when I started working with them down at the Jazz Arena. And from that time forth, we've become close friends. Consider myself a brother to Craig. We share so much in common. But I'm grateful for this opportunity to honor Constance and pay tribute to her. I'm going to start off quickly by something that struck me from an email correspondence that I had with Craig several years ago. We were having a back and forth, and you may not remember this, but it stuck with me because to me, it paints the kind of people that Craig and Connie are. He emailed to me, life's journey is not to arrive at the grave safely in a well-preserved body, but rather to skid in sideways, totally worn out, shouting, "What a ride." I think that totally paints a picture of who Connie is, along with the beautiful color of orange. I was asked at my church to speak in our meeting. It was about a year ago, and the topic that I was asked to speak on was finding strength through adversity, or finding joy through adversity. And as I pondered, trying to think of what I could say and something that would be impactful, Connie came to mind. She was an example to me, as I'm sure she is to everyone in this room, of how she faced the adversity that she lived. And so I called her up and asked her if she would mind emailing me her thoughts on her adversity and how she dealt with it. And I'd like to share that with you today in honor of her. She said, "When you hear the words, 'You have cancer, it's terminal, and you only have 4 to 6 months to live,' it feels as though someone has sucked all of the oxygen out of the room. You look around, as surely this doctor could not be talking to me. Then the reality sinks in that your world has just changed forever. For me, this happened 2 days in a row. The very next day, my mother died. I was sure that God hated me and that I was a terrible person. There could not be another reason that I would be punished so. A little time passes and things start to sink in. My mother, passing when she did, was actually a blessing. I was her caretaker and would no longer be able to care for her. The journey I'm on has had lots of twists and turns, some sadness, some fear, some anger, faith, and always love. And now, down the road 2 years, I find my life mostly filled with joy, even through the worst of it. I found a great army surrounding me, lifting me up, making it known that they were mine and they loved me and they would be there, always looking out for me, keeping a special eye on my sweet husband. Through it, I discovered my purpose, my role, besides that of cancer patient. I found joy in serving others and paying it forward. I am thankful. If I had a choice, I wouldn't change it. It is my lot, it is my journey, it is what God wants for me. Through adversity, I have learned so much more about myself than I ever knew. How great my capacity is for serving, for empathy, for forgiveness, for real forgiveness, and that it has nothing to do with the person I forgive, but has everything to do with me. It's true, God does not give us more than we can handle. In the midst of the storm, sometimes it's hard to see, but it's the truth. It's the greatest lesson we will ever learn. Each time I reach out to someone in my position to counsel them, hold their hand, make them a little less afraid, bring them an item of comfort, comfort a spouse, comfort their family, it brings me joy. Yes, my time is limited, but I made God a promise that with the time I have, I will use it wisely and not mourning for that what will never be. It is my why. I will leave you with this. You will never know the limits of your greatest self unless you test it. So in closing, I just want to thank Greg and Constance for being a small part of your life, for being able to share such a wonderful personality. Take the time to realize what an impact each and every one of you can have on the lives of everyone in your life that you come in contact with. Never fail to look somebody in the eye and to smile and say hi or tell somebody that you love them, because tomorrow's not a guarantee. God bless you all.
Shalise and Sierra, if the two of you would come and share, we'd appreciate it. And I realize that this is not the easiest thing for you to do, but give it your best.
I did not prepare anything. I tried writing it down, and it just wasn't coming, so I'm trying to think of, I'm Shalice, by the way, her daughter. Not biological, but she was my mom. I'm trying to think of all the memories that we shared. She came into my life when I was 10. It's a pretty long time. I was a brat. She had to put up with a lot with me. Being a step-parent is probably really hard. But there was a lot of good moments. She taught me how to bargain shop. She taught me how to rock a pair of boots. She taught me always to feed the ducks. She taught me that using hair rollers, is that what it is easier than a curling iron. And she got me my own set when I was 13, and I'm thinking, what is this lady doing? I don't need hair rollers, but I still have them. I still don't know how to use them, but I still have them. So last 2 Septembers ago, a year and a half ago, I got to go on a trip to Sturgis, a family trip, which was pretty awesome. It's pretty cool to be in an element that your parents that they thrive in. I was nervous because I had heard of stories and I had seen pictures, and I'm like, oh, what am I going to get myself into in this Sturgis trip? But I got to experience that with her, and it was really neat. There was a lot of highs at the trip. I got to eat her stuffed shells, which was amazing. She makes the strongest beverage for morning cocktails that I've ever had. And she'll keep refilling them for you all day. Riding those miles was pretty cool. It's a pretty cool thing to share with parents. I think like 5 days into the trip, my moto broke down, and since I take after my dad, I was pretty pissed and had a hard time seeing the joy of the trip for a few days. But it was a blessing in disguise because I sent my moto home in a truck, and I got to be in the RV with her for 2 days, which was pretty cool. We ate an insane amount of Slim Jims and licorice, and we listened to I'm Alive by Celine Dion over and over and over. And neither of us are good singers, but we shouted it anyways. So I'm trying to think of memories and lessons that she taught me, aside from good taste in jewelry and fabulous taste in boots. But I think it's trying to laugh in the times that are hard and trying not to stress over the things you can't control. I was really pissed about my bike, really pissed. But I got to spend 2 days in an RV with her, going home, and that was something that it was just really neat. She opened up to me that she had heard from the doctors and that the cancer had spread to her lungs. And she didn't want my dad to know. So I put on a brave face. And we stayed up till wee hours of the morning every night in Sturgis. And had the best family trip I could ask for. There's a lot of things that I wish I would have done, and I think that's what death kind of does for you. But I'm gonna laugh always and always for her, so I love you, Connie.
I'm Sierra. I'm the other daughter. I have to write stuff down, otherwise it doesn't come out right. One of my favorite quotes is by John A. Shedd, which reads, "Ships in harbor are safe." That is not what ships are built for. Sorry. Every time I read or see this quote, I think of my family. And I think of her. Connie was our stepmom, and she chose us. She didn't have to. She came into our lives. She changed everything, and she completed our circle. Those of you that knew her, you know, she was a beautiful chaos. She was fearless, she was brave, she was always a force to be reckoned with in all things. She loved deeply, she laughed loudly, and quite often inopportune or unexpected moments, which usually startled people and eventually had everyone laughing with her. I miss that laugh. She loved her family and her friends. She loved to cook, and she did so impeccably. One of my favorite memories with her was actually making Christmas chocolates in the kitchen. We had so many bags of chocolate, so many sprinkles and candy selections. Our entire porch was covered with chocolate molds of every color. We had powdered sugar on our clothes, edible glitter in our hair, and chocolates and ribbon everywhere. It was chaos, and it was fantastic. She loved the holidays. She liked decorating a lot. And when it was warm, she was always out riding the Harleys and going on adventures. Many of you went on those adventures with her. I don't know if a weekend went by when we didn't go feed the ducks or the geese or the neighbor's horses. We never met the neighbor, but we met the horses. Every animal in a 20-mile radius was part of Connie's care collection. That's just who she was as a person. If you ever saw someone pull out a bag of Friskies on the side of the road, feeding some stray cat, it was probably Connie. If you ever had to stop and wait for a woman to herd a family of ducks across a 4-lane highway, I apologize, it was probably Connie. She was a lover and a fighter in the best of ways. A warrior until the very last moment. Abraham Lincoln once said, "In the end, It's not the years in your life that count. It's the life in your years. And she always made it count. I appreciate you guys coming. And I appreciate the commandos. You have helped hold us together. Thank you.
Thank you to these two daughters. It's more than a notion to be able to stand and pay tribute to one's own mother. But perhaps even more challenging is for a husband to pay tribute to his wife. Craig has gone through it. Thank you for being there for him. And Craig, will you take whatever time you need?
Thank you, Pastor. I'm not entirely sure that I can do this. My heart is broken into a billion little pieces. A laugh, echoing from afar, sight unseen, serenading me as lightly played keys. My breath catches as I see the source, pure sunlight emanating from within. Captivation embraces me completely. With trepidation and yearning, I reach for her with arms long since idle. With patience and unconditional acceptance, she envelops all of me. Ever so slowly, chipping away at my walls, laying rest to my demons. Time travels by as we explore and merge our worlds. She softens my edges as I harden hers. The iron of our union forged in the fire of one becoming. On bended knee, I gather my courage. Laying bare my fears and humble prose, praying for her acquiescence. The band encircling her finger as tears follow her cheek. Journeys abound as the years fall away. Time intertwining our hearts into barely indiscernible separation. Two astride steel, golden hair flowing with arms outstretched. And again, that laugh. Through the storms of life and loss, we persevere, wallowing together in the sun-filled days of our life. Nary another can come between us as we have become a single entity. A mix of her selflessness, youthful abandon, and unadulterated joy, brought together with my strength and fortitude, the bulwark of her world. The final battle is waged upon her. A warrior such as I have never seen stands firm and fast. Back to back, we fight the forces against her, laying waste her foes. Through the ebb and the flow, she's a fighter. Weary and wounded, she rises again and again. An indomitable spirit with the unparalleled grace of angels. She is my soulmate, my best friend, my angel. Her battle is done. The snow softly falls. A life well lived, a love well shared, a job well done. A final breath, one last kiss. She is my gift. I started writing that for her several years ago. I've written other things for my daughters. When her dad passed away in 2003, I wrote something for her, for him. And they've all been really easy to write until this one. And for several years, I would try. And I would scratch it out, and I would try again, and I would scratch it out. And finally, I would put the book away. And months later, I would get back out, and I'd try it again. Connie was in the hospital on December 21st. We thought there was another issue that could be fixed. And it turned out to be her liver was failing because of the cancer. So it got to be Sunday, the 23rd, and I just told the doctors that I'm going to take her home. I wanted her to be home for Christmas, and she wanted to be home for Christmas. And on Monday, we did that. We had dinner, we watched a movie. Christmas Day, she slept most of the day. And through the week. And I just spent time with her, and we talked when she was awake. Friday came, and she was sleeping mostly at that time. She wanted to be in our home, in our bed, when she passed, and I wanted that as well. And I think it was about 25 or 26 hours that I laid in bed with her, straight through Sunday, December 30th. We were blessed to have a lot of wonderful family and friends there that last 24 hours. And we all sat up in the bedroom and we laughed and we cried and we shared stories and we shared memories. In the last 24 hours, Connie couldn't really communicate verbally, but she could hear. and we talked to her a lot. I probably told her during that 24-hour period as I lay beside her in bed that it was okay to go. And I probably told her that 100 times. And she would not go. Finally, one of the hospice nurses came in and said, you know, it might help if everybody leaves the room except for Craig and Connie. And I spent about 2 hours up there with her, just holding her, talking to her. And her breathing got more shallow. And I knew it was close. But everybody came back in. And it was a room full of people. And that's how she would have wanted it. And she took her last breath at 12:34 p.m. I spent 22 years on law enforcement. Served on the Salt Lake County SWAT team with a lot of type A personality guys. And I was probably the most type A of all. And those guys were warriors. And we went through hundreds of doors, hundreds of times, not knowing what was on the other side. But my wife among many things, showed me what a warrior was. The last 3 years has been incredibly difficult. Most of you saw her with a smile in her eye and a ready laugh. But there were many nights when she would come home and just collapse into me. She would say, I just can't be that person every day. And I told her that she didn't have to. She's a fighter to the very end. She's a fighter. And I hate to tell you guys, but all the warriors in this room that I served with, she put you all to shame. And I don't say that disrespectfully. But my wife had the fortitude and the strength and the grace of angels. She's my soulmate. I think it's rare in a lifetime that you meet someone that pick each other, that is a soulmate. I think a lot of people probably settle and they're happily married, and that wasn't us. We were both type A. We argued vehemently. She usually won. And I'm not one to capitulate very quickly. But we loved hard, we played hard, we laughed hard. She taught me how to laugh. She was the laughter in my world. Because I came to her a little bit broken to begin with a whole bunch of baggage. And she packed it all in. Job hazard, I guess. Childhood. she taught me many things in life. In addition to laughter, she taught me how to forgive because she was really good at it. Connie was a people collector. And everybody in this room was collected by Connie at some point in time. I like how Deb put it, where's your intersection? My intersection was at American Stores almost 21 years ago. And there were a bunch of us that were working security part-time down there. And it was around 10:30 in the morning, and I hear a laugh come around a corner. Didn't know who it was. But it took my breath away. And I had to see where that laugh came from. And I did. But Connie would collect people, just like she would collect animals. That's why we have 4 dogs and a cat. And it was interesting to watch because when she went into a room, the room stopped. She had that effect on people. And I have the opposite effect. And I would just trail in behind her as always and watch her work her magic. And it was magic. And my job was to sit in the back and make sure she was okay. But I would watch her work a room, especially a room where she didn't know very many people. And her head was constantly on a swivel. And she would zero in on somebody that she'd never met before. And it's almost as if she would reach out and pick them and say, now you're in my world. It was also a little comical to watch the ones that she wouldn't pick. And she would say to me later on the ride home, remember that one guy? He seemed a little titched. He was a little bit off. And she would laugh and laugh and laugh. But once she picked you, once your intersection with her came, you were part of her life forever. Connie's world is really big. It's enormous. My world is really small. I've never felt this kind of pain. I honestly didn't know it existed. Didn't know what it felt like to shatter. And now I know. We had a couple of sayings between us. And the first one she ever taught me was, there will always be laughter between us. And she honored that commitment. And she brought much laughter to my life. When her father passed away 15 years ago, you never know what to say to somebody. Obviously, are you okay is not the right question, right? But when her dad died, and I held her, she said, "This will never be all right, but I'll be okay." And I'm not all right, but I am okay. The last 2 weeks have been really busy, trying to plan this service, and we had a private celebration of life last night for her. And everything that comes with the passing of a spouse. I really haven't had time to grieve yet. And that's not to say I haven't cried a lot. I thought I would have been out of tears days ago. There seems to be an overabundance of those left. The hardest time for me is in the days and weeks to come, because there's nothing left to keep me busy. I want to personally thank some people. I don't know if Dr. Litton is out in the audience. He was her oncologist. And that man is a saint. He is more than just a doctor. He took a personal interest in Connie, not as a patient, but as a person. And I'll be forever indebted to he and his team. You've all heard the story about how the Constance Commandos came to be. They have been there every day, every hour, every minute, and every second of this journey of ours. Unwavering, unfaltering, rocks, anchors. I know because Connie and I talked about it a lot, the strength that she got from each of you. When she first got the prognosis from Dr. Litton, the chances of mortality were 7%. I can tell you the reason that she stayed and fought for so long was because of all of us. Thank you. Part of my personality has always been to keep my world about this far away. That's my safe spot, right? As a cop for 22 years. I'm not very good at letting people in. These wonderful women have nudged and prodded and dug and pounded their way into my heart. And for that, I'm grateful. And there's more things for the commandos to do. The one thing Connie worried about the most is that she would be forgotten, as if that were possible. And we had that conversation a couple of weeks ago. And I told her that she could never be forgotten. She's left an indelible mark on each of us in her own way, at your own intersection. My daughters have been incredible. There's no way I could have gotten through the last couple weeks without them. They've been there. We've hugged, we've cried. They've cleaned my house. They reorganized my cupboard so I can't find anything new. They've watched my dogs. And I love you very much. And Connie loved you with all of her. Very much. Frank Hicks. You're my brother. Frank's been there through all of this. Never left my side. Rolls into my house at 9 o'clock at night, knocks on the door, brings his 500-pound Great Dane in with him. Could never repay you for what you've done for me. David and Christy Frost, same thing. You guys have been there perpetually. And I thank you for that. There are others. My brain's really tired. My tank is empty. We used to go to Sturgis every year. We went for 15 years. Very first trip to Sturgis, we met a couple in this audience, Lonnie and Tim. They're from Nebraska. They're here today. They flew in this morning. What a gift. I don't even know what to say. And I'm rarely lacking for words. SWAT guys could tell you when it came my turn at a time to say my piece at a SWAT farewell. They had to put me at the end because it would go on for a long time. And I'm rarely speechless, but when I saw you guys walk in this morning, I know. And you got on a plane and you flew out here. Thank you. Right after Connie passed away, I swore to myself that I would never make that trip again, because that was our place. But I'm going to go again. And you're going to be there. And Karen and Mike from Kansas City, they're watching this being live broadcast right now from home. We're going to go, you guys, because Connie would want us to go. Sis, I know you can hear me back in West Virginia, and Teresa and Howie. Connie loved you guys. I'm glad we got to come out and see you guys a few months ago. Some other people traveled a ways to be here. Frank Lucero came all the way from Las Vegas. John Sharp came from Mesquite. Thank you for making the trip. Mr. John Sharp saved my life once. Long story that I won't get into, but it was January 18th, 1998. It's the same month that I met Connie. And I probably wouldn't be here today if it weren't for Mr. Sharp pulling me out of some guy's hallway when the house was on fire and filled with hot gas, and I know you remember. But he's the guy who came back down the hall to get me, because because I tripped and fallen on my back after engaging a suspect. Connie loved all of you. Each of you are a special part of her world. And you're a special part of my world. I'm going to try to stay for a few minutes. My tank is empty, as is my soul. There's nothing anybody can say that makes sense, right? And it's always been a struggle for me when I've gone to support friends and loved ones who have passed on. What I can't do today is have 300 people say, "How are you?" Because I'm not all right. I'm just okay. And I can't say 400 times, "I know. Thank you." Just because I'm down to fumes. I'll stick around for a few minutes afterward and give people hugs. Hugs are free. If you keep me and my family and my extended family here on these first few rows in your prayers, we would appreciate that. Pastor Davis, thank you so much for letting us have this service here. You are a kind and gracious man. I love you, babe. And I miss you so much. But I will see you again someday.
Let's listen now to Christina Perez, 1,000 Years.
Heart beats fast, colors and
On behalf of Craig, Sierra, Talise, all of you, family and friends, thank you for your presence. Thank you for your acts of kindness. Thank you for your flowers and cards and other acts that you have shown to this family in this time of their grief. Special thanks to Brian Hessler playing the organ, Dennis and Anthony controlling the sound, and then Dee is right here on the front row. Dee is the one that put us in touch with Craig and his family in this time of their sorrow. The family wishes that you would make donations, and there are flyers out on the table that indicate a good place that they would recommend that you do that. It's been Calvary's privilege to host this event, and I hope for all of you, you find this a warm and loving place that you can come whenever you have needs. 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verse 26 says, "The last enemy that shall be destroyed is death." And so we come today to say to Craig and these daughters, all of you, family and friends, let not your hearts be troubled. If you believe in God, believe also in his son Jesus. For he said, I go to prepare a place for you, and if I go and prepare it, I'll come again and receive you unto myself, that where I am, there you may be also. So we'll see Constance one more time when we all gather in that great getting up morning. Let's pray. Oh God, our Father, dismiss us now from this time. We thank you for the 51 years of Constance's experience and life here. We thank you for Craig and Sierra and Talise and all of these other family and friends. We thank you, O God, for all of the blessings that you bestow upon us. Now strengthen us. We pray for Starks as they continue to provide services, for Dennis, Anthony, Brian, Dee, and especially for Craig. Now keep us as we go our separate ways until we meet again. It's in Jesus' name. Amen. That'll conclude these services. As Craig has mentioned, he'll be around a bit to greet and fellowship with you. Come by and take the time to show him your kindness. And remember that it'll be the days that are still ahead that they'll need your help the most. Thank you for coming.